These are...
No fear. No political correctness. No wokeism. You're listening to Underground USA. Thanks for listening. My name is Frank Salvato. Before we get to this episode of the Captain's America Third Watch with Matt Bruce, I'd like to say a couple words about rushing through life to dispense with Thanksgiving to get to the marketed holiday of Christmas. History has it that New England and Virginia colonists originally celebrated days of fasting as well as days of Thanksgiving, thanking God for blessings such as harvest, ship landings, and the end of a drought. These were observed through church services, and then accompanied with feasts and communal gatherings afterwards. The event the Americans commonly call the first Thanksgiving was celebrated by the pilgrims after their first harvest in the New World in October of 1621. The feast lasted for 3 days, and it was attended not only by the colonists and the pilgrims, but by Native Americans in peace. Presidents from Washington to Jefferson to Lincoln to Grant, all the way through Roosevelt, issued proclamations for a day of Thanksgiving, but it wasn't from 1942 onwards that Thanksgiving, by an act of Congress, received a permanent observation date, the fourth Thursday in November. Thanksgiving is a uniquely American holiday. It isn't observed over in Europe. It isn't observed down in South America. It isn't observed in Asia. It's uniquely American. It's something we should be celebrating. And it also makes us think of something that's higher than ourselves, a higher power than ourselves. That we rush through Thanksgiving because Madison Avenue and the marketplace demands that we buy things for Christmas. We've really got to stop this. You think about it. You ask anybody who is in their end of days, at the end of their life, what they wished for, they always say they wish they had a little bit more time with family, with friends, with people that they loved. And that's what Thanksgiving is. It's a day to give thanks for what we have, who we are, but we want to rush through it so that we can make sure that we buy everything so that we can get to Christmas, which has completely lost its meaning. Christmas is about celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ, not about making sure you've got the next new gadget and the things that Madison Avenue is pushing. So please, before we go stampeding towards all of the Christmas stuff that comes, no doubt, the day after Thanksgiving on Black Friday, let's take the time to celebrate Thanksgiving. Give thanks for who we have, who we're surrounded with, what we have. As much as people want to divide us and make us complain about things that we don't have, and the media talks about all the bad things in the world, we still live in the greatest country on the face of the earth. This is evidenced by the fact that everybody wants to come here. Not a lot of people are leaving. So when you hear the caustic left talking about how bad our country is, I don't think the people trying to wade across the Rio Grande think the same way they do. So let's give thanks this coming Thursday. And let's keep Thanksgiving something that is uniquely American, that gives us a sense of who we are. Right now, my interview with Matt Bruce on the Captain's America Third Watch.
On the telephone line, we've got the man, the myth, the legend up there in the frozen tundra of the panhandle of Florida. And I think it's a little chilly up there today. It's Frank Sabato. Good morning, sir.
Mr. Captain.
Is there a little twinkle between your toes this morning because it's a little nippy up there?
Well, it's reminiscent of my youth. We're below 32 degrees, so it's kind of interesting.
Oh, my goodness. Well, we were at 50 a few minutes ago. Now we're up to 52, but it's colder than that between you and me, and I know it's cold up there because I was watching the temperature drop up there, and I'm going, holy cow. Better you than me.
I hear that.
God. Well, Mr. Frank, Nancy Pelosi steps down as the House Democratic leader after nearly 20 years. The hours come, she says, for a new generation to lead. And right away, a name pops right out of the blue, who I've heard before, Joaquin Jeffries. Now, he's a Democrat.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to point out that Pelosi ain't gone yet.
Right.
She's not running for leadership in the next Congress. She still holds the gavel until they recess for the holidays.
Yep.
So they will try to get some things passed right at the end. Everybody should keep their eyes open.
Yep.
And keep your eye on the ball here to make sure that things don't slip through.
Yep.
Without some protest if they do it. But Hakeem Jeffries, boy, they didn't choose someone who was going to go back to the center. That's for damn sure.
Mm-hmm.
He's from New York. He's on the Congressional Black Caucus. He is radically left. So where Pelosi left off, Hakeem Jeffries is not only going to start, he's going to probably blaze some new trail. I don't think you're going to get a whole lot of pushback from the squad on this. That should tell you something. They are of like mind. So the far left agenda in the House may have a different face, but it has just as much radical vigor.
Well, I'm not surprised to hear any of this. I did hear that he was radical. I haven't really paid a lot of attention to him. I do remember him saying some things like in 2018, he was pretty much a conspirator about, well, Donald Trump stole the election. He stole the election. And I remember hearing all of that stuff, but that was him that led that charge.
Amazing how the whole election denier thing didn't apply to anybody in 2016.
Right.
You know, from Hillary Clinton on down, everybody who said stole an election, they stole it. Nobody was screaming denier back then. But boy, you talk about 2020 and you might as well believe that the Holocaust didn't happen.
Yep.
You know, so this election's in the books for the most part. They're still counting ballots, which is just mind-blowing to me.
You know what they're doing? They're counting ballots until they find a Democratic winner in one of those two races in California.
Yeah, it's the Franken syndrome. Oh, yeah. Look, we found a box of ballots in the trunk of some guy's car.
Yeah.
I don't see anybody screaming for them to marry the number of ballots that are cast to the number of voters there are. Maybe in 5 or 6 years they might go, wow, you know?
Yeah.
They were like,
and that's amazing, Frank, because nobody's done that. Nobody's asked to match up the number of votes with the number of voters. Nobody's asked to do that except Florida.
Yeah, well, Florida fixed it after 2000. We're proud of our election system.
You bet we are. Hold that thought, my friend. Okay, folks, you're coming back with more. Frank Salvato. Frank Salvato, undergroundusa.com. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
This is Frank Salvato from Underground USA, and you're listening to a fellow brother of the badge, Matt Bruce, on the Captain's America Third Watch.
My mother was always very active and independent, and she was familiar with her neighborhood. But one day, she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual. She wasn't even really sure where she was at.
It's important for you to talk to someone about it. I felt so much better after my son told me, Mom, we'll figure it out.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Did you know that Yaupon is the only tea plant indigenous to the United States? Hi, I'm CJ, the owner of Emerald Coast Tea Company. We have a line of Yaupon teas and Yaupon tea blends that will open your eyes to tea that is literally made in the USA. Check out our entire line of teas at www.emeraldcoastteacompany.com. Honey, this ain't your mama's tea.
News, insight, passion. AM 930, The Answer.
All right, Frank Salvato, undergroundusa.com, is back with us. Good morning, Mr. Frank.
Mr. Captain.
We have got an interesting situation going here with Hunter Biden. It appears that we have a congressman from Kentucky, James Comer, who's come out and said members of what's expected to be a GOP House now are discussing plans to investigate President Biden, his family, and his administration. Here's what Cuomo said, the quote, "We are going to make it very clear that this is now an investigation of President Biden." Now, the name that keeps popping up all the time is Hunter.
Well, we're going back to the future. This is stuff that the mainstream media should have been investigating during the campaign, during the 2020 campaign, if not beforehand. They should have been looking into this when Hunter got onto the plane to go with his father over to China.
Yep.
That said, we on the right side of the aisle need to hold people accountable, so I'm glad that there's going to be an investigation. I just hope it doesn't become one of these media darling witch hunts like the left executed for 6 years against Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to elevate government back to serving the people instead of serving the political parties. Now, if Hunter Biden and the Biden family have done things that have transgressed the law, then that should be dealt with. I doubt anything is going to come from any of these investigations because Merrick Garland is the Attorney General.
Yep.
It might be something that could tee things up for after 2024, if and when a Republican president takes the helm again and has a legitimate Attorney General.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that Garland's illegitimate because he has politicized the office to such an extent that it's just an extension of not only the Biden campaign team, but the DNC.
Right.
So that's why I call him illegitimate. I think we dodged a bullet with him not being on the Supreme Court, too.
Yep.
But, yeah, we should be looking into this with ingenuous eyes and not political eyes so that we're doing good government and not doing opportunistic politics. That's the only thing that I worry about with we're going to investigate this and we're going to have a panel on that and we're going to slate a special committee to look into this. Is there enough to look into everything in Washington? Constantly and all the time, yes. It's a cesspool, and it needs to be flushed. But we can't just do tit for tat with the investigations because those things, they lose potency when you use of all politics all the time. If you're going to investigate and you're going to find things are wrong, make the recommendations. Make the hard recommendations and just don't do it for political reasons. Do it for the good of the country.
Wait till I tell you this one. According to the reports coming from the Republican Party, 50 countries are involved with this money-making scam of Hunter Biden's. 50 countries. And the White House reportedly spent $250,000 to try to dispel rumors of those 50 countries.
Unless that's coming out of the campaign fund, they're using taxpayer dollars for political purposes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's against the law.
Yep.
It's against the law. So do we make a stance and say, hey, this entire time that you have been doing political stuff for your own opportunistic benefit, that's all been illegal, and someone is going to jail for it, which means you would have to ask for a special prosecutor at this point because Merrick Garland would have to recuse himself because he's politicized the office.
Right.
This is how you have to look into it. The corruption and the I don't care about the rules is so incredibly deep on the left side of the aisle ever since the Obama. I'm even going to give Clinton a little credit on this.
Mm-hmm.
Since Obama. Clinton's Justice Department at least did some stuff. There was a special prosecutor about Monica Lewinsky. Obama, he started the whole era of I don't give a damn. I've got a pen and a phone. I'm the President of the United States, and if the rules are there, they can be broken. And Biden has taken that throttle and jammed it through the dashboard. Getting back again to the investigations. Yeah, we need them, but we have to do it for the good of government and in service of the people, not because it's politically opportune and it helps the parties. Party politics on both sides of the aisle needs a good enema.
Okay. Let's talk about Arizona GOP gubernatorial candidate Kari Lake, who has announced that she will not concede the race to Democrat Katie Hobbs. The Trump-endorsed Republican said that this past week is confirmed that she has assembled a legal team to explore the Arizona voting laws.
She's got every right in the world with a race that close to demand a recount. There is no good reason in the world why anybody should be upset with a candidate losing by less than a point to say, hey, I would like a recount. An ethical Secretary of State or Supervisor of Elections for his state would say, okay, let's start the process. But because the Supervisor of Elections in Arizona happened to be the Secretary of State who is the new governor-elect,
Yep.
we're going to hear about how she's a denier and she's not accepting the results of a legitimate election and how all the votes have been counted. Now she's just on a witch hunt. Look at little Donald Trumpet Jr.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're going to hear. Believe me, if the tables were turned and Hobbs would have lost by a point, or even, I'm going to say even 2 points, she would have been demanding a recount, and they would have rubber-stamped the recount because of who she was. She should have recused herself. She should have handed off to the Deputy Secretary of State to execute this entire election.
Right.
And as I've been saying, if she didn't have enough ethical will to do that during the campaign, how are the people of Arizona supposed to believe that she's got the ethical will to lead in an ingenuous nature?
Right. Now, we're going to be going to break. You're going to stick around for another segment, and thank you very much for doing that. And I've got a question from a caller out in California. This is a young gal who is doing a high school project, and she's listening, I understand right now, to what your answer is going to be. But the question, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be, why do some states take so long to count votes? And Frank is going to give little Bonnie over there her answer, because, like I say, she's doing a paper on this, and maybe, just maybe, we might be able to help somebody out. What do you think?
Hey, why not?
Okie dokie. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more on the Captain's America Third Watch. I shall return.
You're in the right spot for tomorrow's news tonight and breaking news as it happens with retired New York Fire Rescue Captain and World Trade Center attack survivor Matt Bruce, right here on the Captain's America Third Watch.
Talking to your kids about the dangers of vaping can be hard. Getting them to listen to hot gossip is easy. So here's some drama you could share with your kid. Dude, did you hear about Cassie and Jake? No, but did you hear that vaping can cause irreversible lung damage and nicotine affects brain development? Nuh-uh. You don't need to gossip if you want to have an open conversation about vaping. So if you want to get tips on when and how to talk to your kids, visit talkaboutvaping.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
Levi's became iconic by making tough pants. Now they're notorious for pushing progressive politics, opposing the Second Amendment, attacking popular voter ID laws, and Levi's screws their workers, furloughing thousands while rewarding rich shareholders. A top female executive unable to speak freely. Rather than leaving China, CEO Chip Bergh makes excuses. An American icon washed away by woke politics. Levi's, serve your customers, not woke politicians.
This message was paid for by Consumers Research, a 501c3 educational advocacy group. To learn more, log on to consumersresearch.org.
Okay, back to our good friend Frank Salvato, undergroundusa.com. Good morning, Mr. Frank.
Mr. Captain.
We have a question from a young gal over in California. Her name is Bonnie. She says, why do, and this is for a high school project, I might add, a school project. She says, why do some states take so long to count votes?
Well, first I want to say I applaud you, Bonnie, for being engaged and being in high school. God bless you. I wish more of your classmates were like that, taking an interest in government and why things happen in the politics that leads up to the execution of government. Bravo to you. The answer is in the Constitution. Each state legislature gets to decide how they want to do federal elections. And the election law in some states like Arizona and California and some of the others that are taking a very long time, Nevada, to calculate have said that mail-in ballots can be postmarked by midnight on Election Day, and therefore they have to give a grace period for how long they want to count ballots afterwards. A lot of these same states don't allow their election officials to open up those ballots before the polls close on election day. In some states, they've realized that it extends this period of counting votes well into a 10th day and maybe into the second week. So they have shut-off dates for when you have to get your mail-in ballot back. In Florida, I believe it's 10 days before the election. That's why Florida was able to count their ballots on election day and tell you who won. So this is an act of being able to amend the election law in California and Arizona and Nevada and every place else that's still counting ballots to say, hey, you've got to mail in ballots in 10 days before the election because we're going to start processing them then so we can have a winner on election day. That said, we shouldn't be having early voting as long as we do, and mail-in voting shouldn't be a thing at all unless you're voting absentee and willing to actually provide an affidavit that you are the person who is voting. It's a right and a privilege to vote in the United States, and we have to keep Election Day sacrosanct.
Now, you've heard of the Tunnel for Towers Foundation, right?
Absolutely. Great organization.
We have a gentleman sitting across the table from me. I'm going to turn his mic on here right at the moment. Okay.
Good morning.
Frank, you are a brother. You are a brother of the badge, just like I am, converted to news talk personality that you are. What would you like to say to him about the Tunnels for Towers Foundation?
It is such an impressive and important organization. And if people aren't familiar with Tunnel to Towers, they have to get familiar with it. It is doing such great work that it should be one of the number one Gold Star charities that people think about giving to every year when it gets to be giving season. So I applaud you and good luck, brother. I hope everything that you do surpasses your wildest dreams in this endeavor.
All right. What do you think?
Thank you. It's an honor to be a part of it, an honor to share the story of Stephen Siller and all the good deeds that the foundation and Frank Siller and his team continue to do. It's an absolute honor and privilege.
Okay, well, Frank, I appreciate you sticking around a little bit longer. We had to answer Bonnie's question, but I will talk to you on Monday morning, my friend.
Stay low, my friend, and stay low, my new friend.
Yeah, there you go. All right, thank you very much. Yeah, firefighters are a dying breed. We actually care about each other. We actually take care of each other, if you will.
Please subscribe to the podcast and go over to undergroundusa.com and sign up for our Substack. Both come straight to you when you subscribe so that no censor can keep us from you. My name is Frank Salvato. You're listening to Underground USA. We'll be right back.
This podcast is a production of the Compass Point Group.
Hey, this is Judson Carroll with the Southern Appalachian Herbs Podcast. One thing Frank always reminds me to mention is that my books and my podcasts are not limited to my region of the Southern Appalachian Mountains. I'm a master herbalist with a working knowledge of hundreds of herbs that are available all around you no matter where you live and keep your family in optimal health. I'm now offering a free newsletter through Substack. Please find me on Substack at Judson Carroll Master Herbalist or judsoncarroll.com, and I look forward to communicating with you in the future. Thanks.